Good morning, Devils fans. I am finally back home. Still trying to figure out the setup here, so bear with me with that. As hopefully my arm holds up as I'm going to be having a fairly juicy episode here today where I'm going to make an argument, and I think a fairly simple one, for why Jack Hughes is already the front runner for the Hart Trophy. Before that, though, recording here slightly before practice, and we just got the news. Nico Hischier and Erik Haula are skating at practice today, so it looks like they'll be traveling with the team to Montreal for the 7:15, remember 7:15 game tomorrow. And injury concerns are not much of a concern. However, Nosek was put on IR, and Calfoot was called up to be with the big squad. So I doubt he's actually starting, but we'll see exactly where it's going with that. But yeah, that's really the biggest bit of injury news updates. Now I want to jump into the Jack Hughes stuff. So the NHL actually just released a new feature on their website called Edge. Basically lets you look at some, I don't know how you would even put it, just metrics that you can compare guys to and from. I haven't dug too deeply into it just yet. Instead, mostly have just looked at Jack and who I'm considering the other competition, or at least favorited names for the Hart Trophy. But essentially, Edge takes a look at some dynamics that are able to be recorded now with the technology that's now in the puck and in the gear that we haven't had before. So a brief overview, and they kind of give you at the top of the page with Jack. They give you his top skating speed, burst of speeds over 20 miles per hour, how much he's actually skated distance-wise, top shot speed, shots on goal, shooting percentage, how many goals, and then offensive zone time. And then you can even dig into the numbers a bit further with neutral zone, defensive zone, and all that if you are so apt to. But those are kind of the default ones that they give you up at the top, and the ones that they use in the player comparison tool, which I'll be using a bit in this video. So, for the baseline, as obviously Jack is going to be the comparable for all of these guys, I kind of wanted to go over his numbers in detail, and I'll mostly be just doing comparisons with the other guys. For this practice, I did choose, obviously, Connor McDavid, and then I kind of went by either previous front-runners or nominees in recent year for the Hart Trophy, and guys that are just kind of crushing it to start the year, even though, in my opinion, they probably won't be in the full conversation by year's end. And so, outside of Connor McDavid, I've got Nikita Kucherov, Matthew Tkachuk, Elias Pettersson, and Alex DeBrincat, who, as of the recording of this video, is leading the league in points and I believe goals for sure, as he has a very sustainable 42% shooting percentage right now, and I hope he maintains that, at least for my fantasy hockey team. So, to go into the actual numbers here for Jack, he is 97th percentile at top skating speed, 22.89, league average 21.31, so about a 1.5 miles faster than league average. Burst of speeds over 20, he's had 19 of those, 97th percentile again, league average is 6, so quite a bit up there, but again, still just 97th percentile. Skating distance, he's 89th percentile. This one I don't really care too much about, but it is here to use. His top shot speed is below 50th, it says. Now, the league average is 78.77. He shoots at 79.08 as his top shot speed, but that does put him below the 50th percentile in the league. Shots on goal, 98th percentile with 22, average being 8. Shooting percentage, he is on a bit of a bender, but nothing too crazy. He's shooting at 18.2%, 81st percentile, 10.2 for the league average. He's got 4 goals, putting him at 97th percentile. League average is 1. And he's in the offensive zone at even strength, 41.4% of the time, putting him at only 62% there. League average 40.5. Reason for that being, Jack does a lot of transition plays. He'll start out in the neutral zone, start in the defensive zone, all that stuff. So it's not that he's being hemmed in or anything. It's just some other guys are really just used in the offensive zone and all that. But again, that's kind of overall view with Jack, his actual numbers and versus the league. I'm now going to go one by one using this comparison tool, but also using, again, one of my favorite sites, Natural Stat Trick, for a bit more deeper dive into the actual numbers of gameplay, because, you can compare this stuff. I really don't think it means too much. This is more so just a point of view, giving you guys some talking points for when you have people telling you, no, McDavid's still the clear Hart winner favorite. He is the best player in the world, which he is. But I'm going to give you arguments for why Jack is the clear favorite. So sticking with the Edge tool from the NHL, Again, mostly doing this because it's brand new and I just found it today and just started using it today, and I think it's interesting. But natural stat trick is where I actually put more of my weight in the actual numbers of what's going on. So McDavid compared to Jack, they have fairly comparable top skating speeds, burst over 20 mile per hour, and distance they skate in a single game. Jack actually has a higher top speed so far this season than McDavid. He also skates further and also has higher shot speeds, barely. I'm talking 0.09 miles per hour faster of a shot, and he is skating 0.75 let's go with 0.17 miles per hour more top speed than McDavid. Where McDavid does have a bit of an edge on Jack is he spends a lot more time in the offensive zone. Nothing too crazy, but does have a bit of an edge over Jack there. Otherwise, Jack does edge him out in shots on goal, shooting percentage, and goals. Those things typically go hand in hand. And we know McDavid, for him, is having a bit of a slow start with only 2 goals, 8 points in 5 games. But that at least gives you the comparison. Skating-wise, Jack is very comparable in burst and top-end speed. McDavid gets a bit more ozone time, but Jack is having the better goal scoring, the better shooting so far for the year. Now, what about actual play driving and what's going on the ice itself? Well, McDavid has played an extra game, but he only has about 9 more minutes of actual ice time compared to Jack. But even with that extra game and extra ice time, Jack is putting up actual more scoring chances for. So their shots for, shots against, all that is fairly comparable. McDavid, a slight edge, again, has the extra game, but even on a percentage base is doing quite well. Scoring chances, 1 extra game, more minutes. Jack has 1 less scoring chance for. Just to give you an idea of how much offense Jack is really driving here. From an expected goal share, just, generally speaking, how dangerous are the shots for and against when you're on the ice? Jack beats him out at almost 6 percentage points, improvement 52% to 46 in Jack's favor. Again, scoring chances, Jack really edges him out, both more for and less against. High danger chances are almost exact. Jack has 1 less for, but also 1 less against and 1 less game. And with the way Jack goes, we know that very likely here with 1 more game, he is going to really boost those numbers. But in my opinion, one of the craziest differentials between the guys is the medium chances. Obviously, not everything's going to be high danger, and sometimes those medium ones go in. Where McDavid is 27-20 with a +7, Jack is 30-18 at a +12, and I think from what I've seen, that puts Jack at one of the best ones in the league. Low danger chances, McDavid does get the edge there. If there was one feather in his cap. And as far as the luck ratio goes, for those that don't know that one, essentially it's just looking at the goalie save percentage, shooting percentage, the other guys on the ice, and it's just, hey, you play this out over 1 million times. Are you getting better results than expected given all of that criteria, or worse results? McDavid is getting a little unlucky, but Jack is actually surprisingly very unlucky. So if you consider the fact that he is already crushing it like this, the biggest thing for that is going to be a lot of his production has come on the power play, and 5-on-5, while he is generating a lot, nothing's actually going in. That's where the unlucky portion of that's coming in. So McDavid, obviously, best player in the world. I'm not arguing that at all. But Jack has had the much more stellar of a season. Next up, I did Elias Pettersson, as he is also one of the league leaders in points with 10 in 5 games. For the comparable using the edge tool, Jack is the much faster skater. He also has a better burst of speed. He skates more in a game than Pettersson. But Pettersson has the much harder shot. Shoots it. It's not even comparable. So, but Jack shoots more on goal, has the better shooting percentage and more goals, and also is in the O zone more of the time. We know Pettersson is a bit of a Selke nominee dark horse, in my opinion. So he does get a lot of D-zone starts, a lot of neutral zone starts, play a lot of defensive game. So it's not very surprising that Jack would have more O-zone time than him. And obviously Jack uses a lot more of that skating and speed to generate his chances, where Pettersson is a lot more of the hard shot, more not necessarily just pure sniper, but at least uses that hard shot more, where Jack is the more finesse shooter. Now, what about the actual, again, on-ice play? Well, it's not even close. So Pettersson has the extra game played, but actually has played less time on ice than Jack. Also, the generated chances for Jack, his 26 more generated chances with 80 to 54, where they both have essentially the exact same chances against. Maybe you want to argue Pettersson starts more in the D zone, doesn't get as much offensive zone time, so he just kind of sees those chances against him there. But I mean, we talked about Jack. Jack plays all over the ice, and it's not that much of a difference between the two. But Jack just clearly generates a lot more chances compared to Pettersson, and that's just true across the board, whether it's shots that are blocked or unblocked, whether it's scoring chances for or scoring chances against. The other one, big one, like I said, when you go to the expected goals, Jack crushes it. He's almost he's over 8 percentage points higher with a 44.5 to 52.7. Scoring chances, again, it's not even close. Pettersson's basically below 50% in every category. The only one he is not is low danger chances for, where Jack even edges him out there as well. And Pettersson's actually, according to the PDO stat, has gotten very lucky, like very, very lucky. So do with that what you will. By those numbers, I would say Jack is the clear offensive driver compared to Pettersson. He's also gotten unlucky in his 5-on-5 drive, where Pettersson has gotten lucky. So if you expect that to move back to the median, then Jack should actually see a bump in his production compared to what he's already had, while Pettersson should have a dip. So again, Jack is going to continue to clear on most of these guys. I did take a quick look at this, so it's not like I just picked guys that Jack is going to edge out in all of these categories. I just picked the favorite names, the top producers, and just looked at what the numbers were telling me. And, we know it from our eye test, but the numbers are agreeing. Jack is a top-of-the-line guy here. So, next up, I had Nikita Kucherov. Again, back to the edge tool. Jack is a faster skater, has more burst. Kucherov, surprisingly, though, is actually skating more distance than Jack on the ice. They have essentially the same offensive zone time, goal scoring percentage. Kucherov actually has slightly more shots and a higher shooting percentage than Jack right now, with his 6 goals, 9 points in 6 games. And then also has a much harder shot compared to Pettersson. I think actually a bit harder than Pettersson's shot as well. We know Kucherov can absolutely laser a puck home, so no surprises there. Again, Jack more of that finesse shooter, volume shooter, but Kucherov we know is going to put up points from that wing position. So what about, again, the actual numbers? Well, Kucherov has 2 more games played and 35 more minutes of ice time. So this is going to be a lot more percentage looking at the numbers because, again, 2 more games played, which at 6 games versus 4 games is a lot, percentage-wise. But also, I mean, the man just plays a lot of hockey. Now, chances for, chances against are almost dead even for Kucherov, where Jack has an insane edge. I mean, he's, almost 58% of the time the puck is going against the other team's net versus ours when Jack is on the ice. Those are really good numbers. Same thing, blocked or unblocked, it doesn't make a difference. Kucherov's are almost dead even. He's about 50% guy on either way, where Jack is just dominant at over 57% for both. From the expected goals point, Jack clears very easily. Kucherov at 46.5%, meaning when he's on the ice, more often than not, the other team is getting the better share of actual scoring chances, where when Jack's on the ice, it's almost 53% in his favor. High danger chances, which I consider to be one of the more important one. Jack edges him out there. Same thing. Kucherov 46% to Jack's 52, and medium chances, Kucherov 52 to Jack's 62.5. So numbers are really just saying. I know for some people this might be a bit more high level view, but it really is just taking all of the subtleties away of it and just saying, hey, when these guys are on the ice, is the puck going towards your net or the other team's net? And how high degree of a chance are those shots of actually being a goal for or against you? And that's where the numbers break out. Jack on the ice, you are almost always going to be winning that game in the long term. When he's on the ice, he is scoring more than he has scored against. And the numbers bear that out. It's not just, again, a guy goes out there, is getting absolutely shelled, walks out and gets a lucky bounce and it goes in, and he has 1 goal for and 0 against, and you would think, oh, clearly he's playing well. But if you actually were to dig in the numbers, he had like 11 shots against, the 2-4, and it's like, yeah, long term, that's not very sustainable. This is saying Jack is actually underperforming his long term, and he's doing this well with the numbers. From a luck perspective, as I do think that is critical to take a look at when you are going over all these numbers, Kucherov is almost even keel. Basically, he is deserved of the points he's put up, but also the ones that are against him. And like we said, Jack has been unlucky. Next up, now he is not in the points leader currently at all, but we know how hyped up he is. He has not scored a goal yet, and that is Matty Tkachuk, other big American personality, and I just wanted to see where we're at. I will say the comparison chart between Matty and Jack is like none of the other ones that we've done so far, where Matty does get a bit more ozone time, but he is super slow. His speed is atrocious, like bottom of the barrel. Speed burst, also very awful. Skating distance, okay. He does have a harder shot than Jack, no surprise there. He shoots as much as Jack, but his shooting percentage and then obviously goals at 0 are abysmal, where he's shooting 0% right now. So I didn't even look at this yet. I'm going to assume Matty Tkachuk's number are on the unlucky side of things, but let's go ahead and jump into that now. For comparison, Tkachuk has had an extra game, but has skated 3 less minutes than Jack. In that time, they both had the same amount of chances against them, but Jack has a lot more chances that he has generated. 82-69, very nice. So obviously takes the percentage there, but Tkachuk is positive in that sense. If you take in actual shooting, unblocked shots, and all that, Tkachuk is actually below 50%. But it just means, I mean, it's Florida. They block a lot of shots, especially Tkachuk, always in people's faces. So that is stuff you have to factor in. It's not like you just take any shot attempt and that's what matters. So looking at the actual expected goals, same thing. Tkachuk is at 48%, so a bit below Jack's 52.7. And with the high danger chances, Tkachuk 48, 49, 50 with the medium, where Jack really takes over in those medium danger chances. So let me go a little bit further down. Actually, surprisingly, Tkachuk's been the slightest bit unlucky, but actually it's about what he deserves is what this is saying. Now I'm going to go out on a limb and say Tkachuk should probably have a goal or two. I haven't actually watched much of his games other than the one we played against him, and he really wasn't that dominant in that one either. So I don't know if it's just a slow start. We know, it was said power forwards kind of just take a little bit longer to get going. We've seen it with Timo. We're probably seeing it here with Matty T. So we'll see how that continues to bear out. Definitely looking very interested to see how these numbers continue to compare as the season moves on. But again, it's just another one where Jack is heavily clearing everyone else on the ice. Now, onto our very last guy. It's the dude who is leading the NHL in points, absolute shooting and scoring bender, and that is going to be Alex DeBrincat. So, going to Edge, the top level, very high level view. I don't think there's too much stock you need to put in this, but DeBrincat does get a bit more Ozo time than Jack, no surprise there. Not as much defensive responsibilities that Jack even puts upon himself. Obviously, slower skater, not as many bursts, does skate across the ice as much as Jack does. I think that's the most worthless one. We don't really even need to talk about that one too much. Surprisingly, this one actually blew me away. His shot is not much harder than Jack's. So if there's a true sniper, I guess it really is DeBrincat, as he is not blowing it past goalies who can't just react. Instead, he is picking his spots and hitting them, as he does have a ton of shots on goal, but his shooting percentage is through the roof, like insanely through the roof, and thus 8 goals in 6 games, 12 points, going 2 points per game. Keep it up, DeBrincat, just not against us. You are doing fantastic in my fantasy team. Now, what about the actual play driving? So, DeBrincat's got 2 more games and almost 20 more minutes of ice time, so obviously going with the hard numbers is difficult, but chances for, chances against, he actually is only at 89 in those extra 20 minutes, where Jack is at 80. And I think at 20 more minutes of ice, Jack is going to generate more than just 5 more chances, so yeah. He is positive. He's at 52, over 52%, almost across the board in most things. So DeBrincat is driving play for not necessarily just himself, but when he is on the ice, play is generally in the Red Wings' favor, and they are benefiting from DeBrincat being there. It's not just a shooting bender type situation. Although, I haven't looked at it. My assumption is with such a high shooting percentage, his luck percentage is going to be fairly high too, but we'll see how the numbers bear out. Goals for percentage, expected goals for, he is right basically dead even with Jack. So when he is on the ice, he is tilting it. He's slightly under, but it's essentially the exact same percentage of the time. Again, a couple more games, a lot more minutes going percentage here. They're doing very well. That line, DeBrincat and Larkin are crushing it. But with DeBrincat specifically, he's putting up just as good of numbers as Jack in the expected goals chance. But from actual scoring chance numbers, Jack is way ahead. DeBrincat's only at 48.6 to Jack's 59%. High danger chances, it's only a half a percentage different in Jack's favor, of course. Medium danger chances, where Jack seems to just crush everybody in the competition here. DeBrincat's at 46% to Jack's 62.5%. So really can't say enough about those medium danger chances that Jack is putting together. And now that we're actually looking at the luck, yes, DeBrincat is very lucky. Basically, he is as lucky as Jack has been unlucky in the 5-on-5 sense. So you look to that to regress a bit as the season moves on. DeBrincat should come back down to earth a little bit. It's probably not going to be shooting 40% plus all season. And Jack will actually probably find his way back into actual some 5-on-5 scoring. And there's no reason to believe that the power play scoring is going to slow down either. So all good things when it comes to Jack Hughes. I know this was a bit quick-laced. Holding the phone here, I don't remember or memorize all of these numbers, so going back and forth with the computer a bit. But we do have a game tomorrow. I definitely prefer those more just live reactions for you guys, but we're this early. Jack has been crushing, and I really just wanted to dig into the numbers a bit and see how does he compare. What are the other top guys in the league doing, driving play, putting up the points? Just how am I deluding myself into thinking that the power play bender that Jack is on is carrying him to this, or is he actually driving play as much as we think and should be in this conversation? Well, that really answers the question for us, and at least compared to these guys, Jack is crushing it. So let me know what you guys think. Was there another player that I completely missed? I know Tavares is up there with points, obviously Larkin, but I went with DeBrincat for the team. I know Nylander and Draisaitl as well, but I went with McDavid. I didn't really touch on the Leafs because Matthews isn't there, and if there's any MVP on that team, it's going to be Matthews. So that's really it. If there was another player you really want me to do this comparison for, let me know. I might be, shelved while we have a lot of games here coming up. But the next time we get a bit of a lull, we can see where Jack is at that point, and we might go ahead and touch on this conversation. So that's going to do it, guys. I think this is coming in close at one of my longest videos yet. So I hope if you made it this far, shout out to you guys listening to my ramblings like this, but much appreciate it. Start of the work week, I got to bet into that. I will see you all tomorrow morning, as always, and forever. Let's go Devils, baby.